right, it's time for Saturday Space, where we look at things that we might enjoy on a Saturday in space: arts, sport, recreation, and entertainment. Today, our guest is James Vaughan. He was born in 1955. We don't get a lot of birthdays here, and grew up in an idyllic Ohio small town. His father was head of research for a major corporation, and his mother was an artist and poet. After studying history and politics, he gained a degree in photography and worked in a Chicago advertising industry for 3 decades. Now he's returned to his small town roots where he maintains studio facilities and does illustrative work for clients around the world. Uh, I have been enjoying following his LinkedIn posts. James, welcome to Conversations for the Future.
Hey Lee, thank you very much for the introduction. Are you getting me on video?
Yes, I am not
Okay,
seeing
good.
you. I'm seeing your screen.
Oh, okay. Well, oh, here. It must be this little thing where
There
I'm
you
supposed to
are.
hit there. There we
Hi.
go.
Nice
Uh,
background.
Thank you. Thank you. That's my studio back there. It's a nice view. Uh, anyway, thank you very much for the nice introduction. And yes, I'm all about pictures and illustrations and artwork. Um, this is a very important part of the space program in terms of inspiring people and informing people. Um, Most of us won't really go to space,
Hmm.
so we need to see what's going on and see it in a manner which is going to be not only just technically informing, but also um, carrying some of the emotional impact.
Hmm.
It's a strange place. It's outer space, and I'm often confronted with the situation of really having to work hard to think about what it would really look like, or
Yeah.
feel like, or both. Pictures are not the real thing, whether they're a photograph, a video, or a painting. Um, I would expect that if I was able to go up there or out there, um, it would it would be way beyond anything I ever imagined.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, though, I would like to show just a short video of some of my work if I can hit the right buttons here.
Okay, let me.
So let's see. I'm ready to share screen. I think that's going to work. Let me hit share screen. Uh, okay, and then let me do this again. Okay. Um, okay, so
We're seeing your desktop.
right.
And that, excuse me. Now we're seeing the
Oh,
Zoom.
yes. I have to practice my buttons here. Oh, yes. My other bookmarks are missing. Okay, I'll just go over here and do it manually.
Yeah.
Yes, it's we've all become TV stars, right?
Haven't we?
And
Jazz hands.
it's it's a comedy of errors. There we go. Okay. Or as the guy who taught me about computers said, they're computers. What do you expect? Uh,
They only do what we tell them to do.
yeah.
So far, anyway.
Okay. Let's see here. This should be it. Are you getting this?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good sign. All right, let's try. Uh, okay, let's see. I need it. I've got. Okay, let me see. All right. mm, I can't. I've got a menu from Zoom covering part of what I have to access
Hmm.
on the side here with different people. Oh, let's see here. Hide thumbnail. Ah, there we go. The old hide thumbnail. Ah, okay.
There we go. Looking good.
Getting the soundtrack.
No.
Are you getting the soundtrack on this?
No, but we're seeing the beautiful
Okay,
images.
hold on a second here. Oh, oh, there we go. Share sound. Haha. See, there's a special button there.
There we go. Got it.
Here we go. So that's some of what I do.
It's wonderful. And interestingly, we just had conversations about customers today. We're talking about investing. I noticed that so many of your images have corporate logos on them. Um,
Right.
let's get the nuts and bolts. Talk a little bit about your business, the customers that you've had over the years, how that market has changed and evolved
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
recently.
Okay. Okay. So you want to know about the business? Okay. Um, my father used to tell me I was a really bad businessman. I was a good artist, but a bad businessman. He was a very good businessman. And I've tried all, I'm beginning to understand some of the stuff he was trying to teach me. Um, Now, first off, some of those images, the layouts are um, proposed layouts. They weren't
Yeah.
necessarily ads that ran.
Yep.
Um, and so um, selling space, selling the idea of space exploration, um, it has never really been that easy. It is easy for a certain amount of the population who's been enthusiastic, but even at the time of the landings on the moon and Apollo 11, the space program only enjoyed about a 50% solid support, and the other half of Americans were either skeptical or did thought it was a waste of money.
Yeah.
I so that's at the apex of the first golden age of the space program, and Neil Armstrong's putting his foot on the moon. So there's always going to be some people that don't care,
Yeah.
or they aren't interested, or whatever. Um, and I'm concentrating mainly on trying to uh, foster more enthusiasm from those that are already interested,
Mhm.
um, as well as reaching out to those who really at this point are just not that well informed. If I walk around, I talk to normal people, and actually most people don't know we have a space station, and they don't know that there are 6 people up there. They're really surprised, sort of.
Wow.
And so there needs to be a much larger effort and a much more creative effort uh, in selling the space program. In I hate to use the word selling, but communicating about
Mhm.
space and about really how exciting it is and how cool it is, because that's sort of the basics. I mean, and we shouldn't apologize about that. I mean, there's nothing more awesome than being part of the universe. And I also have news for people. We are already in space, okay?
Yeah.
We live in space. And we're just kind of poking around in our front yard a little bit right now. There's a whole universe out there. And one way or the other, we're eventually going to be going out there. And it's inevitable. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah,
Sort
in
of.
a very interesting artistic way and very apropos.
I'll tell you
Um,
that having engineers as my art director and boss is sometimes kind of interesting. Uh,
yeah, that
but
was
it's
going to be
also
my
fun.
next. Yeah, my next
It's
question
also
was going to
fun.
be about the creative process. So sounds
Okay.
like you're just launching into that. So
Well, yeah. I think of what I do. Um, my original training was in photojournalism,
yeah.
and so I still think about what I'm doing as storytelling, conveying more than technical data, conveying uh, more about the meaning of what's going on. Um, and this is modern mythology, basically.
Yeah.
This is heroic stuff, and the people who are going out there are heroes, and they're the vanguard of humanity. And so I try to do that. Um, my techniques are basically those of um, traditional classic painting, although
Mm.
I'm working in digital. I still follow the same basic techniques, and I try to put um, a feeling of adventure, romance, excitement, and most of all, is inspiration.
Hmm.
I want because yes, I think there needs to be more of that, and that government agencies and companies should understand that and utilize the huge tool tools of the internet, which is an amazing forum and stage for this sort of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm not an artist, but perhaps I feel like you have a wonderful way with landscapes, even though they're not necessarily land, right? You
Right.
these scapes.
let me do a screen share real quick here.
Yeah, yeah.
And see. Well, okay, let's, gosh and gollies. Oh, here, there. Oh, goodness. Uh, okay. I don't know if I need that, so I better keep it. Um, yes, anyway, you're talking about landscapes, and that was
Yeah,
kind of the last thing that I expected I would be doing. And I have a consultant, a friend who's a bona fide fine artist and a college professor and all this sort of thing. And that's one of the first things he pointed out was you're doing landscapes in a lot of these cases.
yeah,
And and it turns out to be true. And I'm trying to follow the kind of in the footsteps of what's called the Hudson River School of American Painters, who were um, absorbed in showing and sort of selling the new West of America as the new frontier and a new exciting beautiful place. Now this is a Martian terraforming project where they're building sealing in a rift, a small canyon area, and this is a, a botanical roof um, with algae tanks where they're growing algae for oxygen, food,
nice.
and raw materials. Um, and let's see, we also have, well, here's a good example here. And this is a little bit of homage to 2001. But
Hmm.
um, so, yeah, I end up, I'm doing landscapes, which is weird.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I, I
wonderful.
I kind of didn't expect to be there. Um, and here is some of the guys I'm basically,
Mm.
they were doing the same thing. These painters from the 1800s, they were showing a new world, a new
Yeah,
land. And of course they didn't have photography. And that's another thing, is that a lot of what um, we can't actually see what's going on out there.
yeah,
We can get some videos here and there, uh, but not really something that doesn't really. We want to give the feel. We want to give the emotion,
yeah.
and that's important.
Yeah, when you compare to what their goals were, you talked about fostering more enthusiasm from those who are interested. And I think
Exactly.
those Hudson School images are
Yeah.
doing the same thing, right? They're not trying to
Right.
appeal to somebody who's going to stay on their farm in
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
in
They're going to be.
England or
We're
whatever.
fine here in Pennsylvania. Leave us alone.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
there's the ne'er do wells and the adventurers and everybody else like we are,
yeah,
who want to go out there into the unknown. And Yeah, and I also take a lot of. I've studied a lot of the early public relations and illustrations and newspaper articles and things like that about the early space program. That's one of the
hmm.
reasons I mentioned that I was born in 1955,
Ah,
because I have had I was incredibly lucky to be around during the beginning of the space program,
yeah,
and I've been an enthusiast all the way through. And I also remember what it was like when they had really big budgets.
yeah,
And the budgets are, I don't know, 1/10 of what they used to be. And so I also am aware of how the techniques and the methods they used back then to explain what was very new stuff to the public,
yeah.
that a lot of people really didn't even have basic understandings. And so and they did a very good job of getting support.
Yeah. So I want to look at the algae picture that you showed. I don't want to pull it up again, but just the algae image, Martian community. Um, do you tend to work on what you want to work on first and then sell it, or is that a commissioned piece that came from someone else's imagination and you have to execute on that?
Um, that's a good question. Uh, a lot of the work that you see, I do on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been that way. When I was a photographer, way back when I was a fashion photographer in Chicago, and to a large extent even before that, as a photojournalist, I was a freelance. I've always been a freelancer, and so there's a lot of work I do just to practice my chops, as they say.
Yeah.
You aren't going to become a great violinist if you only play when people give you money. Um, and so I am always making uh, art illustrations. Uh, Part of it is training myself,
Mm-hmm.
and every assignment I get is always something new to do. Something I have to, I've never. What does Mars look like? And blah blah blah. And so a large part of what I do is on my own, for my own fun and for everybody else's fun.
Yeah.
And then there's the commissioned work. What was the question about? You were saying something about when I'm working. Oh, what I choose to do is, actually, the assigned work that I've been getting, the commercial illustration, commercial art work in this area has been the most creative, actually. And I've had the freest hand
Hmm.
to do things the way I think they should be done, um, than ever before in the advertising and all the other stuff that I did before.
Yeah.
So that's actually turned out to be a fun surprise,
Oh, that's good.
even
Okay.
though I'm really having to go through a quick Reader's Digest version of engineering, aerospace mechanics, and orbital. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. There's a fine line between that engineering and being able to draw it really well. You talked earlier about heroes and vanguards, and I've noticed in your work, and Rod's going to jump in and talk about Ad Astra a little bit here. Um, I've noticed a lot of little girls featured in your work.
yes.
Talk about that decision in context of the heroes comment and where you're headed with that.
Okay, let me go back to screen share for that. And um, I am. I've always expected. I mean, little girls are a big part of who needs to be inspired and who are the scientists and who are the astronauts. Um, I've always felt that way. And so I want to illustrate that and express it. Um, and let's see, we bring this up. I think
Yeah.
I'm not. Yes, it's an important part of my vision. I can say that.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, my favorite moment in my job of being an aerospace illustrator so far was this picture was sent to me by her dad,
Oh,
and this is a poster of one of my illustrations, and it really, this is what, here's the original. This is what I this is why I'm doing it,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
You know, uh, that says it all.
A wonderful moment. Rod, if you want to unmute yourself and say a few words, it's always nice when we have friends on the program together.
Yes, is it the Rod?
Yes, it's the Rod. Hi, Jim.
The Hey, how are you?
Good.
I
Wouldn't
haven't.
miss this for the world. This is the first time I've actually seen you on video, so this is kind of exciting for me.
I like your
Um,
background. That's pretty cool. Very Jules Verne.
you like that?
Yes.
So Jim and I have been working together for, I think, almost 7 years in one way or another.
Yeah.
And he's become the exclusive source of covers for Ad Astra, the magazine I edit. And occasionally I get questions about that from the people I work for. You know, why aren't you using somebody else? And there's lots of space artists out there, and come on and so forth. Jim, can you bring up, if you could screen share for a second, can you bring up the A bomb picture?
Oh, okay.
Which,
Oh,
for,
here
for for reasons,
it's a hydrogen bomb. It's a
hydrogen bomb.
right.
Um, when I saw this piece of work that Jim had done, and his portfolio, by the way, has, I think, at last count, about 6,000 images that he's done. The man's the most prolific person I've ever seen in the arts. I saw this and I thought, this is a masterpiece of storytelling. The whole thing's right there. You don't even need the text. I mean, it's good that it's there, but the tricycle next to the reentry warhead says it all. And I think this is something that's kind of specific to people that are not just fine artists, but who have also spent time in advertising, because you have a really
Right.
unique sense, Jim, of how to tell a story. And sometimes it's just some very slight speed streaks that are emanating from one of your spacecraft, or it might be the color selection, or it might just be the orientation to the background or in free space or to a landscape. But all your illustrations, especially the ones we've used for covers, thank you for those, tell a story. And it's a multi-layered, multifaceted story that really draws people in. So I guess what I'm getting at is, there are a lot of artists that can draw machines beautifully, pictures, illustrations of the Saturn V flying or what have you.
Yeah.
But storytelling's tougher. And so right here, we get the full story of what this poor little rover, it's either Opportunity or Spirit, I think it's Opportunity as I recall, is up against. Here's a life-ending storm coming. And there's a lot of things at work here, and I won't try to go through them because I'm not the artist, but there is a whole bunch of elements here that tell us that story and give us, you were talking about heroes earlier. This machine's a hero, and it's very clearly depicted here. So, more in context of the sessions today, you really have a way of selling the subject that is unique. You've got some pictures, for instance, that you've done, illustrations you've done of warships and airplanes, many that have an incredible amount of drama in them. And that's why a defense contractor wants them, right? Because it makes their product look heroic. So I'll just close on saying I've appreciated your work over the years, and we need to talk about the next cover very soon.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Rod. Rod
Thank
has
you.
been a big inspiration for me and a big help as I got going into this whole area of aerospace illustration.
Thanks. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Rod, for jumping on. I've enjoyed the covers as well. And Jim, I've so enjoyed and hope that you'll gain some additional followers on LinkedIn through this conversation.
I
Really,
hope
really
so.
appreciate your work.
Hire me. Yes, especially the big guys. It's been sort of a hard push to get into the larger organizations. I think probably because they have their own art departments,
Yep.
and freelancers are unusual these days.
Mhm.
Well, thank you very much, Lee. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today for Conversations for the Future. And tune in tomorrow for more discussions. Thank you so much.